Tarin wiped sweat from his brow as the sun of Eos 4 dipped behind the black mountain peaks. The sky above the alien world turned a soft red, then purple, as the moons rose slowly. The desert wind blew fine sand across the rocky outpost where he worked, far from any major human colony. He was alone. Tarin was not a soldier or explorer. He was just a signal tech, a man trained to watch the skies and listen to strange patterns from space. His job was quiet, some might say boring, but tonight was different. A sound had been repeating all day. It wasn't natural wind, nor was it a radio wave from another outpost. It was a musical, almost like humming, soft and slow, like someone calling out but not with words. He leaned closer to the speaker, adjusting the controls. Hum, pause, hum, pause. It sent chills down his arms. This wasn't static. This was a message. Tarin sat up straight and traced the source. The signal was coming from the mountains, only 10 kilometers away. 3 hours later, he stood near the edge of a rocky cliff in the mountains, his portable scanner blinking green. The signal was much stronger now. Tarin looked around. No buildings, no tech, just old black rock and strange curved ridges that looked almost like bones. Then he saw her. At the top of the next hill, a tall figure stood completely still. Facing away from him, the setting sun cast long shadows behind her. She wore a silver robe that shimmered in the low light, soft like silk. Her dark hair fell down her back like a river. Tarin froze. He didn't know why, but his heart beat faster. He stepped back behind a rock, watching her from a distance. She didn't move, didn't speak. She just stared at the horizon, calm and still. Tarin's voice came out in a whisper. "She's the most beautiful I've seen." And then she turned around. Her face was not what he expected. It was smooth, pale, and almost human, but not quite. Her eyes were too wide, and they shimmered with light like oceans under starlight. Her skin had a soft glow, not from any light source, but from within. She didn't blink. She just looked at him. Tarin took a step back. She raised her hand slowly, not to threaten, but like someone saying hello for the first time in a long while. And then she spoke, but it wasn't speech. It was a sound calm and musical, echoing directly inside his head. "You heard me." Tarin stumbled back, dropping his scanner. What are you?" She didn't answer. She turned again and began walking toward the mountain wall, as if passing through it, but before she disappeared, she touched a flat black stone. Strange symbols began to glow, circles, lines, and dots. A message burned into the rock in silver light. Then she was gone. Tarin waited a long time before walking up to the glowing stone. The symbols pulsed gently. They were like no language he had seen, yet his mind could somehow understand them. "Help me return." He stared at the words, feeling the wind grow cold around him. Who was she? Why was her message in his mind? Was she human? Or something else? Something lost? Tarin took a deep breath. He picked up his scanner and took pictures of the symbols. Then he turned and walked back to the outpost. Back at his base, Tarin couldn't sleep. He played the signal again. It now felt different, like a cry for help, hidden in a song. He looked at the symbols he recorded. The more he stared at them, the more they made sense. It was as if the message was unlocking inside his brain, not as words, but as feelings, loneliness, waiting, hope. Tarin opened the station logs and searched for old mission reports. Deep in the files, he found something strange, a ship called the Mirror that had crashed near this region over 100 years ago. Its crew was listed as missing. No bodies were ever found. But one name stood out. Dr. Mira Solon, specialist, neural communication. Tarin clicked on the name. The file was damaged, but there was one note left behind. Final experiment, combining human thought patterns with unknown alien signal. Tarin leaned back in his chair. What if the woman he saw wasn't just alien? What if part of her was human? Outside, the wind howled softly through the rocks of Eos. For the signal kept humming, gentle and steady. Tarin didn't know what would come next, but deep inside, he knew this was no normal discovery. He had whispered in awe. She had turned, and now everything had changed. Tarin woke before sunrise even though he had barely slept. His mind kept going back to the woman on the mountain, the strange glow of her skin. The way her voice entered his thoughts and the message she left behind helped me return. He didn't understand what she was or where she came from, but something inside told him this wasn't a dream. It was real, to real. He packed a small bag with water, food, his scanner, and a drone. Then he left the outpost and walked toward the mountains again, following the signal. The trail was rough and the wind stronger than before. Dust clung to his boots and face. But Tarin didn't stop. The humming signal still echoed from his device, now faster, like it sensed him coming. After 2 hours of climbing, he reached the same hill where he saw her last night. But now, she was gone. No footprints, no sign of her silver robe. The black stone wall still stood in silence. Tarin stepped closer to the glowing symbols. This time, there were new markings on the stone. A fresh line of writing had appeared beside the old message. The gate is broken. I cannot cross. Tarin slowly reached out and touched the stone. It was warm, almost alive. He felt a soft pulse run through his fingers. His drone lifted into the air. He guided it around the area. The camera scanned the ground, the wall, and the cliffs. Suddenly, it picked up something strange, a circular hole hidden behind a wall of vines and rock was carved into the mountainside nearby, a hidden tunnel. Tarin pulled the vines away and stepped into the dark entrance. The air was cold and heavy. He turned on his light. The tunnel stretched deep underground, with smooth metal walls covered in dust and roots. This wasn't natural. He walked slowly, every footstep echoing. Strange lines were carved into the walls like circuits or nerves. They glowed faintly as he passed. After a short walk, the tunnel opened into a large round room. In the center stood a pillar of glass. Inside the pillar floated a white crystal, turning slowly in the air. Tarin moved closer. The drone circled the room and scanned everything. Suddenly, the lights in the walls turned bright blue. A voice filled the room. Not loud, not angry. Just sad. You came back. Tarin froze. It was her voice inside his head again. I don't understand, he said out loud. What is this place? The voice answered, soft and broken. It was a bridge, a gate between two minds. But it failed. Tarin walked around the pillar, staring at the crystal. He felt pressure in his head, like memories trying to wake up. Who are you? He asked. The voice paused. Then came the answer. I was Mira. I'm Elna. I was both. Tarin sat down on the floor, trying to understand. He remembered the ship log. Dr. Mira Solon, specialist in neural communication. Had she really tried to link with alien minds? Did the crash leave her body behind but send her mind? Here, he looked up at the crystal. Are you trapped? Yes, the voice replied. The human mind cannot live alone, and the alien mind cannot feel alone. But together, we lived. Then the gate broke. Tarin swallowed. How can I help? The lights dimmed. The walls showed glowing images, flashes of memories. A woman in a white coat. A strange alien world. Fire. Panic. A ship falling from the sky. Then peace. A mountain. Silence. Waiting. I've been here for years, the voice whispered. But now you hear me. You feel me. You carry the key. Tarin's eyes widened. Me? Why me? Because your mind is open, and your heart did not fear. Suddenly, a soft breeze entered the tunnel. Elna's voice faded. They are coming, she said. They do not want me free. Tarin grabbed his gear and looked back at the crystal. What should I do? Learn. Remember. Come again. I will guide you. Tarin left the tunnel as quietly as he came. Outside, the signal was louder now, singing through the rocks. He looked up at the mountain, wondering if she could still see him. He remembered her eyes like oceans, deep, endless, full of memory. And now, he understood. She wasn't just a beautiful stranger. She was once human, now something more, and she was still waiting. Back at the outpost, Tarin copied the drone's data. He placed the crystal image next to the ship's logs. The experiment hadn't failed. It had changed someone forever. Mira had crossed the line between human and alien thought and survived. But she couldn't come back alone. And now, Tarin had a choice: forget everything or return. Outside, the two moons of Eos rose again, and in the hills, the wind carried a soft voice: help me return. Tarin sat in his small outpost room, staring at the screen. His fingers moved slowly as he compared the crystal image from the tunnel with the broken ship log of Dr. Mira Solon. The two matched perfectly. The curved lines on the crystal surface looked just like the pattern of brain signals stored in Mira's final experiment. It was no mistake. The voice calling to him, the woman in silver, was connected to Mira. Maybe she was Mira, or maybe she was something else now. He leaned back, eyes heavy from no sleep, but his mind refused to rest. The way she looked at him, her voice and his thoughts, the memory she shared through light and sound, it all felt real, surreal, and the message still echoed in his ears: you carry the key. The next morning, Tarin packed again. This time, he carried a stronger power unit, more food, and a small memory chip with all of Mira's research. He walked back to the mountain. The wind was quiet. Even the humming signal had softened, as if waiting for him. At the tunnel entrance, the vines were gone, burned away by heat. Tarin stepped inside with caution. Blue lights glowed from the walls before he even turned on his flashlight. They welcomed him. The crystal room was brighter than before. The air felt warm. He stood in the center and raised the memory chip. I brought her work, he said. I don't know how, but I think she's still in here. The crystal flickered, and slowly, the walls lit up again. Images danced all around him. He saw a younger Mira, smiling in a lab. Then the vision changed. She floated in a tube, wires on her head, her eyes closed. An alien machine pulsed nearby, glowing the same color as the crystal. Then the crash, fire, screams, the ship falling from the sky, and finally, her mind entering the crystal. Her body was gone, but her thoughts were saved. Next, the memory showed another form, taller, smooth-skinned, with wide, shining eyes, the alien. Mira's mind had reached it, connected. The two had merged. And then silence. The connection had shattered. Mira was no longer fully human. The alien was no longer alone. But the gate between them had broken, trapping them in one place, one body, one voice. Stuck on ES-for. A name echoed through the room. Elna. Tarin stepped back. So, she became Elna. A mix of two minds. Yes, the voice filled the room. Again, more clearly now. But I am fading, she said. The memory is cracked. I forget who I am. Tarin felt his heart ache. How do I fix it? The walls changed once more. This time, they showed a strange round door deep under the mountain. Lines of old human code and alien symbols ran across it. The core, the voice whispered. That is where I was made. That is where I must return. Tarin recorded everything. He placed the chip into the crystal's base. The walls lit up brighter than before. Suddenly, the tunnel shook. The lights blinked. Tarin turned toward the entrance. Two tall figures stood at the tunnel opening. Their skin was gray-blue, their robes dark and heavy. Their faces were smooth with no mouth, but their eyes glowed green, sharp and watchful. They spoke in a strange sound, clicking and humming. Not words, commands. Tarin stepped back, holding up his scanner. I don't want trouble, he said. I'm just helping someone. One of the figures pointed at the crystal. They spoke again. Tarin didn't understand the language, but he understood the tone. They wanted to destroy it. No, he said firmly. She's not your enemy. The taller one stepped forward and raised a weapon. The walls around Tarin suddenly flashed with light, and a shield of energy formed in front of the crystal. Elna's voice rose. You cannot stop me. The shield pushed the strangers back. They hissed and left the tunnel quickly, disappearing into the shadows. Tarin stood still, heart racing. He looked at the glowing crystal. Who were they? Guards, Elna replied. They were sent to erase me. I was not meant to survive. Tarin understood now. This was bigger than a lost experiment. Elna wasn't just a memory. She was something new, something powerful, a true blend of two worlds. And some didn't want her to exist. But Tarin did. He looked up at the glowing walls. Tell me where. The core is. A map appeared deep underground, past sealed doors and ruined halls. It would take time. It would be dangerous. But Taring didn't hesitate. I'll bring you back, he whispered. Not just for you, but for all of us. The crystal pulsed once in reply. Outside, the sun had set again. Taring stepped out of the tunnel and looked at the stars. He now carried something more than data or memory. He carried hope. And somewhere deep in the mountain, a forgotten soul waited to become whole again. Taring stood in the quiet of the mountain, holding the scanner tightly. The glowing map Elna had shown him floated on the screen, a deep path twisting far below the mountain's surface, ending at something called the core. The message was clear. If he could reach the core, Elna might be able to fix the broken link inside her. She might fully remember who she was: Mira, the human, and Elna, the alien. But first, he had to find a way inside. He took a deep breath, pulled on his jacket, and entered the tunnel once more. The path was darker this time. The walls did not glow. The strange warmth he had felt earlier was gone. Taring followed the map, moving deeper underground. His footsteps echoed around him. The air grew heavy, and the silence pressed against his ears. He passed through tight halls, broken doors, and rusted panels. This place was very old, older than any human building, but parts of it looked like something humans had once touched or worked on. As he stepped into a wide circular chamber, his scanner beeped, the air shimmered, and then she appeared again. Elna. Her form glowed softly in front of him like a ghost made of silver light. Her long hair floated as if underwater. Her wide eyes looked calm, but tired. I remember this place, she said gently, her voice inside his thoughts. Taring nodded. What is it? The archive. It holds memories from the Gate Project. It was left here after the crash. I was born here. Taring looked around. The room had no machines, only tall crystal towers around the walls. Each tower held floating shapes, light, color, and sound swirling together. He stepped closer to one. Suddenly, his mind was pulled in. Flash. He saw a younger Mira talking to a group of scientists. Flash. He saw her entering a chamber with a silver headband. A strange alien figure waited inside. Flash. He saw the crash, fire, metal twisting. Her eyes closing. Taring pulled away, breathing hard. These are your memories, he said softly. Elna nodded. Half of them, the rest belonged to the one I joined. Taring turned to her. Who was it? Elna's form flickered, her light dimming. A traveler, a being without a body. It had waited for centuries, hoping for contact. When I reached for the signal, it reached back. And then the crash happened, Taring whispered. Yes, we became one to survive. Not body, but mind. Taring looked down. And now the connection is breaking. Elna's voice was softer. Now, yes, I forget who I am. The human part fades. The alien part drifts. The core holds what's left. Suddenly, the lights in the room blinked red. Taring raised his scanner. Movement coming fast. 3 dots, not human. They returned, Elna said. Taring moved quickly. He hid behind a large crystal column as 3 tall, gray-blue beings entered the archive. Their glowing green eyes scanned the room. One of them walked toward a tower and pointed. The tower shattered into dust. They're destroying the memories, Taring said in shock. Yes, Elna replied. They wish to erase the Gate Project forever. Taring knew he had to act quietly. He crept along the wall, staying out of sight. He reached the far end of the chamber, where a large metal door stood sealed. His scanner showed a symbol glowing faintly on the wall beside it, a circle with a line through it. The same symbol from Mira's research notes. Taring touched the symbol. Nothing happened. I need access, he whispered. Elna appeared beside him, her form flickering. Place your hand on the panel. I will guide you. He obeyed. The metal beneath his palm grew warm. Light shot through the wall. Then clicked, the door slid open. Taring slipped through, and the door closed silently behind him. The hallway beyond was smaller and more ancient. The floor felt smooth, almost like glass. A faint white light ran along the ceiling. You were close, Elna said. Taring walked slowly until the hall ended at a wide round door. In the center was another crystal, this one cracked, dull, and barely glowing. This is the core, she said. Tarin stepped forward. What do I do? Place the memory chip here, Elna said. He did. The chip slid into the crystal's base. The crack glowed, and light began to spread. Elna's voice grew stronger. Yes, I feel it now. I remember the sounds, the first signal, my name, Mira. The core lit up fully now. Images burst into the air. Mira's face, the alien's voice, the stars above EOS-4. Everything came together. Tarin watched silently. You did it, he said. But Elna's voice did not answer right away. Finally, she spoke again quietly. There's one more choice. I can restore the full connection, but it will take more than data. I need a living bridge. Tarin blinked. What do you mean? Your mind is open. Your heart is steady. I can connect through you. Just for a moment. Just long enough to complete the memory. Tarin hesitated. Will it hurt me? No, she said softly. But you will see all of me. He nodded slowly. I'm ready. Tarin touched the core. Light exploded. He was no longer standing. He was floating in a sea of memory, voices, feelings. He saw Mira as a child. He felt the alien's loneliness. He felt wonder, fear, love, silence, time. And then peace. He opened his eyes. He was back in the core room. The crystal pulsed gently. Elna stood in front of him, not flickering, not broken but whole. You brought me back, she said. Tarin smiled, tired but calm. Welcome back. Outside, the archive remained. The guards searched for him, but they wouldn't find him now. He and Elna had a head start. The memory was whole, but the journey was not over. The signal had only begun. Tarin stood quietly as Elna's form became clearer in the core room. No longer just a flicker of light, she now looked whole. Her skin glowed gently. Her robe shimmered with silver, and her wide eyes held both sadness and peace. She looked at Tarin with a soft smile. You helped me remember, she said. Tarin nodded. And now, are you complete? Almost, she said. My memories are whole, but the signal is still broken. The galaxy cannot hear me. Not yet. Tarin looked confused. Then what's left? The last piece? Elna answered. We must send a message not just to your people, but to all. They must know I exist, and that peace is possible. They left the core room and moved carefully through the deep tunnels. Elna guided Tarin through paths hidden from normal scans. The guards were still out there watching, searching, and trying to erase what had survived. Elna walked calmly, but her voice grew serious. They are not evil, she said about the alien guards. They are afraid. Afraid of you? Tarin asked. Yes, because I'm something new, something they don't understand. Tarin was silent for a moment. Then he said, that's what makes you important. She looked at him with gentle eyes. That is why I need you. You are still fully human. They will listen to you. Tarin didn't know if that was true, but he believed in her. He had seen her memories. He had felt her pain. And he had seen her beauty, not just her face, but the kindness, the strength, and the longing to be understood. Hours later, they reached a wide chamber filled with broken machines and dark cables hanging from the walls. It was an old human base, possibly part of Mira's original research site. In the center stood a tall tower, rusted and covered in dust. This was the relay tower, Elna said. We can repair it, with your help. I can send a final Signal 1 message that will reach every nearby world. Tarin walked to the tower and opened a panel. Inside were broken wires, cracked chips, and faded human markings. It's old, he said, but I think I can fix it. He worked quickly, cleaning connections, recharging the core, and ray-linking the system to his portable scanner. Elna stood beside him, humming softly. Her voice filled the air like music, calming and focused. As he worked, Tarin asked quietly, what will your message say? Elna's voice was clear. It will say this: I am both human and alien. I do not belong to one side. I wish to share what I've learned. Let others choose peace, not fear. Tarin looked at her. That's powerful. It's the truth. Just as he finished, the tower lit up. Lights flashed green, and the screen showed full power. "It's ready," he said. Elna stepped forward, placing her hand on the console. The air around them began to hum. Her body glowed brighter. The tower's dish turned slowly, pointing toward the stars. She closed her eyes. Light flowed from her into the tower. The signal began. But before it could finish, a loud blast echoed from behind. Tarin turned in shock. The alien guards had found them again, 3 of them, with weapons raised. "Move away," one shouted in a strange machine voice. Tarin stepped in front of Elna. "Please. She's not a threat. She is dangerous," the leader said. "The signal must not be sent. She only wants peace," Tarin yelled. "She's not just alien. She's human too. You can't destroy her." The guards moved closer. One aimed at the tower. Tarin knew he had seconds to act. He looked at Elna. "Can you finish the signal?" "Yes," she whispered. "But someone must protect the tower, even for a few moments." Tarin turned back to the guards. His heart pounded, but he didn't step aside. "I won't move," he said. The guards hesitated. They looked at each other. Then one of them lowered his weapon. The leader shouted, "No, we have orders." But the second guard also stepped back. Their eyes glowed less brightly now. "She is not attacking," the first one said. "She is speaking." Suddenly, the air filled with light. The tower's signal burst into the sky, spreading far into the stars like waves in water. Elna's voice filled the chamber, gentle, steady, and full of meaning. To those who listened, she said, "I'm Elna. I was Mira. I was alone. But now, I remember. I'm not your enemy. I offer knowledge. I offer understanding. Choose connection. Choose peace." The light faded. Silence followed. The tower stood still. And the message was sent. Tarin looked around. The guards stood quietly. None of them moved to attack. The leader lowered his weapon slowly, then turned and left the chamber. The others followed him. Elna turned to Tarin. Her eyes were soft. "You stood between war and peace," she said, "and chose peace." He smiled, breathing hard. "You gave me the strength to do it." Later that night, under the stars of EOS-4, Tarin sat beside Elna near the edge of a quiet hill. The wind was soft, and the moons were bright. "Do you think they'll answer your signal?" he asked. "Some will," she said. "Not all. But even one is enough to begin change." Tarin nodded. "And what about you? Will you stay here?" "For now," she said. "This place is where I was born again. But I will not be alone anymore. Not with your people, and not with you." Tarin looked at her in the moonlight. Her face was calm, her eyes wide and deep like oceans full of stars. She turned toward him and smiled, and he whispered again, just as he did that first night, "She's the most beautiful I've seen." The night on EOS-4 was calm. The twin moons hung low, casting soft light over the rocky hills. Tarin sat quietly beside Elna, the glow from the stars reflecting in her wide, deep eyes. She looked peaceful now, more human than ever. Yet, there was still something different, a mix of 2 worlds inside her. Tarin finally spoke. "You remember who you were, but do you know who you are now?" Elna smiled softly. "I'm both. Mira and something more. The memories of my human life and the alien thoughts I carry have joined. I'm new, but part of both." Tarin nodded. "You're a bridge between our world and theirs." She looked at him. "Yes, but sometimes I wonder, will I ever truly belong?" Tarin thought about this. The galaxy was wide, full of stars, planets, and many kinds of life. Some might fear what Elna was, a mix of human and alien, something they did not understand. But Tarin knew better. "Belonging doesn't always come from others," he said. "It comes from inside." Elna's eyes searched his. "You speak with the heart of a human." He smiled, feeling the truth in his own words. "We are strong because we adapt. We survive because we hope. That is what makes us human." Days passed, and Tarin and Elna explored the old base together. They studied the remaining machines and the broken technology left behind. By the Gate Project, Elna's knowledge grew. As she connected her memories with the data, she learned more about humans, their emotions, dreams, and courage. One afternoon, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, Elna paused near a console. "Tarin," she said softly, "I feel something. A connection to the people I left behind." "To Earth," Tarin nodded. "We have friends there. They are waiting." Elna smiled faintly. "Then I must return one day." That night, Tarin woke to a strange sound. A low hum filled the outpost. He opened his eyes to see Elna standing in front of the communication panel, her hands glowing softly. "The signal," she said. "Someone is answering." Tarin hurried to the console. On the screen, strange symbols appeared. An alien language, but one he had seen before. The message was clear. "We have heard. We come in peace." Tarin looked at Elna, hope shining in his eyes. "This is the beginning," she said. "The galaxy is ready to listen." But there was more to come. In the following days, ships from nearby star systems arrived near EOS-4. They were curious but cautious. Tarin met with their leaders, sharing the story of Elna and the Gate Project. Some were amazed by the idea of a human mind joined with alien thought. Others were afraid. But all agreed to talk, to understand. One evening, as Tarin and Elna stood watching the stars, a ship landed nearby. From it came a group of aliens with calm faces and open hands. Their leader stepped forward. He looked at Elna and said, "You carry the future of peace?" Elna nodded. "Together, we can build a new path." Tarin smiled, feeling the weight of hope in the moment. As the days turned into weeks, Elna taught the newcomers about humanity, about kindness, bravery, and the power of connection. Tarin watched, amazed at how being once lost between two worlds had become a symbol of unity. One quiet night, Elna turned to Tarin. "Thank you," she said, "for helping me find myself." He smiled gently. "Thank you for reminding me what it means to be human." She looked at the stars again. "I think this is only the beginning." Under the soft light of EOS-4's moons, Tarin whispered once more, "She's the most beautiful I've ever seen." And this time, it was more than just her face. It was her spirit, the human within. The first light of dawn touched the peaks of EOS-4, painting the sky in soft gold and pink. Tarin stood on the edge of the cliff, looking out over the vast desert below. The wind was calm, carrying the scent of warm stone and distant flowers. Beside him stood Elna, her silver robes flowing gently. Her eyes, deep and bright, reflected the sunrise. She looked peaceful, but there was a quiet strength in her. Tarin turned to her. "The message you sent, it changed everything." Elna nodded slowly. "Yes, the worlds are beginning to listen. Fear is fading. Hope is growing." For weeks after the signal was sent, new ships arrived from far systems. Aliens who once saw each other as enemies now met with open hands. Talks of peace, trade, and friendship filled the air. Tarin watched it all, amazed by how one voice could ripple across the stars. But for Elna, the journey was more personal. She had once been lost between two minds, human and alien. Now she was becoming whole. One evening, under the bright moons, Tarin and Elna returned to the place where they first met, the rocky hilltop. The wind whispered around them. Tarin looked at her and said quietly, "I never told you why I said you were the most beautiful I'd ever seen." Elna smiled, waiting. "It was not just your face," he explained. "It was your courage, your hope, your kindness. The way you fought to be yourself, the way you carried both worlds. Inside you." She looked down, touched by his words. "And when you turned around that first time," he continued, "I saw not an alien or a stranger, but someone who reminded me of what it means to be human." Elna's eyes softened. "You gave me strength when I had none." Tarin took a breath. "And you gave me a reason to believe in something greater." The stars above seemed to shine brighter. As the months passed, the people of EOS-4 built a new center of learning and peace, where humans and aliens shared knowledge and stories. Elna became a teacher, a guide. She helped others understand that true strength comes from unity, not fear. And Tarin stood beside her, proud and hopeful. One day, a child approached Elna. His eyes were wide with wonder. "Are you really from two worlds?" he asked. Elna knelt and smiled. "Yes, little one." And that makes me special, the child giggled. Like a star that shines in the night, Turing watched, feeling the future stretch before them bright. Open, full of promise, he whispered again, more to himself than anyone else. She's the most beautiful I've seen. Not just because of her face, but because of her spirit, her courage, and the hope she brought to the galaxy. And then, for the first time, Elena turned around to look at him fully without mystery or fear, but with warmth and trust. In that moment, everything changed.